Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Cody, and I thank you for being here with me today as we're talking about World of Warcraft. You know, the old one, the best one, the classic. So, if you guys watched BlizzCon the other week, which I didn't watch, but caught up with later, of course, like probably many of you out there was two big announcements. One was Warcraft Classic Cataclysm. Awesome. I am probably one of the black sheep that really like Cataclysm after coming out of Lich King. I'm a Lich baby. I started at the very tail end of Burning Crusade. Please don't stake me. And the other big one for me was Classic, and they're doing the Age of Discovery. I should not call it Age of Discovery because that is not what it is called. It is called the Season of Discovery, and those two there, along with the new The War Within trilogy, made me want to get out the most simplest, straightforward guide possible playing World of Warcraft on Steam Deck. And so that's what you're going to get from me, is a to Z on how to get World of Warcraft playing on Steam Deck with the ConsolePort add-on, which I think is the best way to do it. And so let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so first thing we're going to want to do before we even start thinking about playing WoW is needing a program from the Discovery store. Okay, and that's called Proton Up QT. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll probably already know about this, and it's not a big deal. But just head over to Discover down the bottom on the desktop mode of your Steam Deck and download Proton Up QT, and basically just download the latest version of the current GE Proton. So as you can see here, there's a newer one up than the one I'm using. So just download the newest one. And if it's not working, maybe go back to an older version that I'm running here, as it seems to be working fine. So that's the first major thing you need to do, is download Proton Up and download the latest version of GE Proton. And that just lets Steam load the application of Battle.net. So once we've done that, we'll be on to our next step. Next step after we've done that is we're going to head over to the internet and we're going to go download Battle.net. This is going to be one of those things that you just Google up and download. As you can see here, the option to download to desktop button doesn't work, but at the top it has download battle.net, and that works just fine. So we can just download that into our downloads folder, and once that's downloaded, you can then right click on it in the downloads folder and go add to Steam. That's going to be your first step. And then once you've got it added to Steam, you're going to find it in your library, the Battle.net setup exe, and you want to go down and you want to change its recommendation properties, and you want to set it to GE Proton. And then what you're going to do is it's going to start the installation process, and you're going to lose control of you'll keep control of your mouse, but you won't be able to click. So here's a trick, is if you're finding you're not able to click on things, what you do is you hold the Steam button, and that enables the left and right triggers to act as your left and right click for a mouse. It's because we're in gamepad, it's because it's a gamepad and this and that. So basically, whenever you're trying to click on something and it's not working, hold the Steam button. Your mouse should then reactivate on the right touchpad, and your triggers should become left and right click. And you're going to want to leave it like that, and you'll understand why later on. So you'll run through the installation, and eventually it's going to ask you it's going to say where it's going to install it. Now, I recommend you change the installation path, because you're going to want to come back in here later to install addons, which is the ConsolePort, and maybe you'll use others. If you're playing retail, you might want other add-ons as well. And if you have it going into its automated spot, it's really, really hard to find. As you can see, I've got a games folder in my core library where I have it my Epic launcher, that's so heroic launcher, as I say, where Epic games will be installed. So I've just put the Blizzard launcher to go there. You can make your own folder or put it somewhere else, but you don't make it too hard to find, basically, is what I'm saying, because otherwise it's a real pain. And then once the installation's done, you can delete the Battle.net setup exe, remove that from your Steam library. We don't need that anymore. And so once that's installed, you want to go into your files and find the Battle.net installation spot. And you're going to want to add the Battle.net launcher exe into your Steam, okay? So we've installed it. Now we just want the core program installed. And then once you've done that, run it again with GE Proton enabled, of course, and you'll get the launcher should load, and this is where your mouse won't be working correctly again. So while navigating through all these menus of the Battle.net launcher, just hold the Steam button and use your right trackpad along with your triggers to use the mouse clicks. Or you can use a touch screen. You have that option. There's only a few things in here you're going to want to change. One is you want to make sure you set it so it exits Battle.net launcher entirely whenever you launch a game. And the other thing is you want to make sure it remembers your login and phone numbers and all that stuff, so you're not having to log in every time. And you want to change game settings on where games are installed, because again, it's going to go to that weird directory. You want to redirect it so all your games, again, installed into this Battle.net folder somewhere close by, okay? Once you've done that, go ahead and install WoW Classic or WoW Classic Lich King or Retail. This works for any of those three, and for me, it'll be a Season of Discovery soon, and Cataclysm, so just go ahead and install that, okay? Once you've done that, you'll now have the folder in your Battle.net, as you can see on mine, and from here, you can go onto the internet and download whatever ports you want, any add-ons you require. So what I recommend is, when I initially did this, I just downloaded the add-on individually from, not Nexus Mods, but from a WoW add-on website. But Curse does have a Linux-based version of their installer, so you might as well use that, and then it's got everything there at your fingertips. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to copy that. Once it's downloaded, you're going to want to put that in the World of Warcraft core folder, okay? Because it won't find it if you put that on the desktop. It needs to be in the folder where WoW is. And then from there, you could, if you want, add the Forge add-on to Steam. So you can always go into that separately from... So you don't always have to come into desktop mode. That's entirely up to you. I haven't bothered to move it into Steam. I just do it from desktop mode whenever I need to add add-ons or update ConsolePort. But what you want to do is download the ConsolePort add-on. That makes a huge difference. Well, not even a huge difference. It's basically required, okay? So make sure you download that. And then once you've downloaded that and it's installed correctly, we're basically done for desktop mode, okay? And then from there, we can move back into Steam OS, and we're on the home straight. We'll see you soon. Welcome back. As you can see, we're slowly loading into our Battle.net account from Steam game mode. And once you get to the thing, make sure the add-on is within, down the bottom left here. I'm just going to pause the video right here. I forgot a major step that you need, otherwise this don't work. So what I recommend you do is go into your add-ons, turn off ConsolePort just initially. Okay, Just to do this, log into your character or make a new character, whatever you would prefer to do. And I'll put on the screen and all the addresses for websites for the add-ons and for the curse add-on character will also be in the description. You need to go into the chat and you need to type out this. Should be flashing on the screen now. /console space gamepad enable space 1. Okay, if you don't do that, you're in for a bad time and things won't work as they should. Okay, and once you've enabled that, you'll know that instantly you've done it right, because your left analog stick should be working as your movement and your right analog stick should all of a sudden be a proper camera controls. Okay, in addition to that, you should have when you're navigating through the Blizzard launcher, make sure you change in the settings, your controller settings, to gamepad. And so when you're clicking on playing World of Warcraft, make sure you're holding the Steam key and using your right trackpad along with your triggers to click on stuff, or touch screening it, okay? As there's no point changing the controls to keyboard and mouse for the launcher, then going into the game and then changing it back to a gamepad mode. So it's easy just to leave it in gamepad and then use Steam, holding the Steam button while navigating that way, or again touchpad. Okay, so that was one major set. I'm sorry I forgot that. That's a huge mistake on my part, but I've told you now and I feel better about it already. And then from there, quit out once you've enabled gamepad, enable the controller port. You could probably have controller port enabled and then enable it, but I'm just playing it safe in the order I did things. So you could change the order and see how it goes and let me know in the comments below if it made a difference. And then here we are, we're in game. I've just made a low level shaman because I've always got a soft spot for shamans, and what I would recommend is once you've got ConsolePort up and running, it will, because I already have done it, it's not coming up here, but it will go through in your initial run. It will ask you what controller you're using, and it'll go through a small setup guide. That'll take 2 to 3 minutes, and then it'll load up. There is a lot here, okay, in terms of settings. There is a lot. And you're gonna feel overwhelmed if you jump into a max level character with this turned on for the first time, okay? I wouldn't recommend it. Make a new toon and just get a feel for it, because there's a lot, because I jumped onto my level 50 something paladin. You'll see that later in the video. Initially, and I was overwhelmed with the controls and I didn't know what was happening, and I was so lost and confused, and it was just way too much, way too soon, okay? So my recommendation is to start a new toon where you've only got, basic spells and abilities like my shaman here, and it just lets you play around and set the controls. You can play around in the settings and have it so you auto lock onto characters or enemies, and how to tab target through or tag target allies, and because you have you have your face button abilities, then you have right trigger face button, left trigger face button, left and right trigger face button, and then if you have left and right pulled and then you tap A, you then bring up a radical wheel with even more. So you have plenty of space for spells and abilities, but it is a lot to take in if you're jumping onto a high level character, because shit is just throwing for days in every direction possible, and you're just like, wait, I don't know how any of this works, and it's really, really, really confusing. So my recommendation is jump onto a low level character, make a new toon, and spend a few hours seeing how you want to set it up, and then jump over to your high level character with that base knowledge of how to use ConsolePort correctly, and do it that way. Now, some people say you don't even need ConsolePort, you can just use WoW with the enabled controller support. I tried it doesn't, I don't like it. I need the nice little round icons, and it makes it more visually appealing for me. It has your command bar down, your XP bar, your spell casting bar is all put in that one bar down the bottom. I've got a lot of stuff turned off here because at the end of the day I don't really care about the numbers. Maybe if I start doing dungeons and that, maybe I'll want to see some numbers to make sure I'm doing my rotations correctly. But while leveling, let's be honest, you don't need a lot. You can just chillax and play. And that's basically the gist of it. I'm not going to go over every single thing on how to use ConsolePort because there is way too much there for me. But if you guys want me to go back and, you know, spend some time explaining it, I may do that in a follow-up video actually. And then at the end of the, I'll show you what my settings are for in-game. You can see you get a solid 60 FPS. I do play around with some of these because I turned some of these off, but you could probably turn them back on. Yeah. I tried out ray tracing, it just kills the frame rate. You'll see that in a moment. But as you can see, you can really start maxing out a lot of settings on WoW. I am using cryo utilities as a preference, so keep that in mind. But apart from that, thanks everybody for jumping in and checking out this video, and let me know if you're going to be playing WoW Classic Discovery, if you're going to be playing Kata, or if you're going to be playing Retail with the new expansion. I'm probably going to do Discovery because I like how it's set out as like 25 levels, and then it stops for a raid, and then there's a bit of a break, and then I'll probably jump over to Cataclysm in between. I'm not too worried about Retail. If Retail really like ups its game for this new expansion, maybe I'll come back and try Retail. But I'm really impressed on how the Steam Deck handles World of Warcraft. And it has by default, in case you're curious, the back buttons are disabled. So you need to find some empty keybinds for them to connect to, because ConsolePort knows that they're there, but it doesn't suggest any keys for them, so I'm not too sure where they should be. But yeah, what do you guys think about WoW on handheld, and would you consider playing it? I'm definitely going to play WoW this way. It's surprisingly relaxing and way more fun than it should be. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I've waffled on for way too long. Thanks again. Catch you in the next one.